Top of the news this hour, second accused person in office of the Special Prosecutor corruption case against Charles Bissue applies for plea bargain. Also to come, Government and Hospital Pharmacists Association appeals for immediate financial clearance for nearly 600 trained pharmacists. And also this hour, Narcotics Control Commission, in collaboration with customs officials at the Tema Port, intercept 20-foot container carrying a consignment of tramadol. Those are the big stories this hour, and this is News Central. I'm Kemini Amanor. Let's get into the details right away. Now, the second accused person in the office of the Special Prosecutor corruption case against Charles Bissue has applied for a plea bargain. Prosecutors have disclosed to the Accra High Court. On Thursday, May 29th, prosecutors from the USP prayed for more time to finalize negotiations and documentation with the second accused. Andy Thomas Owusu has been charged together with the former secretary of the Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining, Charles Bissue, with 15 counts of multiple offences involving the abuse of office, corruption and efforts to undermine lawful mining regulations. Let's get details of the story. Lord Edwasari is our correspondent who's been covering the story. Lord, good afternoon. Tell us what else happened in court with regards to this case.
Right, Kemini. So a bit of background here. You realize or you recall that this whole case is stemming from an investigative expose carried out by the Tiger Eye PI group that captured the former presidential staffer and secretary of the Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining, Charles Bissue. Now, in that, the case brought forward by the OSP against the two, which is Charles Bissue and Andy Thomas Owusu, says that Charles Bissue abused his office for profits, and then so there are two charges against him, using his office for gain and then abuse by a public officer. Andy Owusu, according to the prosecution, bribed Charles Bissue to circumvent the laid-out procedure for the renewal of license of a certain mining company. Now, they have both pleaded not guilty and are currently on a 200,000 bail with two sureties to be justified. In court today, the prosecution from the OSP told the courts that they needed more time because it had become apparent that the second accused, who found out that he's a former aide of the NPP National Ashanti Regional Chairman, Chairman Wontumi, and we learned that he has filed a plea bargain request with the prosecution, and so the prosecution was asking for additional time to file their disclosures and then finish up the negotiations with him. But as far as Charles Bissue is concerned, that case, they're just going to file the disclosures on him. There's no plea bargain with him as far as this case is concerned. And so that's where we are right now. Today, when the case was called, it was actually supposed to be a case management conference, meaning that they were supposed to outline the roadmap of how this case will proceed. And then this revelation was disclosed by the prosecution. And so the case has been adjourned to June 4, by which time the prosecution should have finished filing the disclosures and then finalizing the negotiations as far as the plea bargain request with Andy Owusu is concerned. So we are looking forward to that, and we'll see how things will pan out from there.
Lord, thank you so much for the report. And Lord Eduasari is our correspondent. We'll turn attention to another story of interest to the public. And this time, public interest advocate Rodelin Imoro Ayana has stated that the Economic and Organized Crime Office acted appropriately in summoning Ashanti Regional Chairman of the NPP, Bernard Entry Busiako, popularly called Chairman Wontumi, for interrogation. Now, she criticized the actions of the NPP supporters who gathered at Iyoko premises, burning tires and attacking journalists in protest, questioning such behavior from a group that left office less than 6 months ago.
Wontumi is not a small person. He is the chairman of the New Patriotic Party in their stronghold, that is Ashanti region.
That's right.
He holds a lot of power. And also, the case at hand is also a very, very dear case for Ghanaians. We also hold that case so dear to our hearts because pollution of our water bodies, mining in our forest zones is bringing in so many issues. You're not looking at the financial side of it, but you're looking at the health implications. We're looking at children that are being birthed with deformities. No eyes, no mouth, no nose, 3 fingers, and the likes. We are looking at the food that all of us eat, the tubers, the vegetables. So if you go out there today and you buy cassava, you don't even know where it's coming from. It's a root crop. It's coming from the forest area. So you can imagine the type of metals that we are all consuming. Some of us might think that we are buying bottled water or we are buying Perrier water from abroad. But you forget that the ordinary contombre that you might go to the market to buy has metal in it. And these are things that are being caused by illegal miners, of whom Iyoko feels.
Now, we'll stay on the subject because, as you may well know, Chairman Wontumi spent Wednesday night behind bars at the Iyoko offices here in Accra. This was after failing to meet bail conditions. Now, according to his lawyer, Wontumi is now under investigations by Iyoko for causing financial loss to the state, a serious offense that could have far-reaching legal and political consequences if proven to be true. Now, let's engage my colleague, Crosby Annan, who's been monitoring developments today on the story. Crosby, good afternoon to you. What are you learning about his ability to meet bail conditions today?
Well, Kemini, just like you rightly mentioned, 50 million cedis bail with 2 sureties. What is happening right now is that when it stands, Chairman Wontumi and his lawyers have been able to secure 1 surety, but there's still 1 more to provide or to make provisions for. So as we speak, we understand is that Chairman Wontumi is still in custody of Iyoko, but at the moment we understand that he's also at the health facility where he has been since he fell ill when Iyoko began the interrogations with him. So that is what is happening right now. As you come to the premises of Iyoko right now, police presence is there. However, party supporters not as many as there was yesterday. Chairman Wontumi has not come there yet, but as lawyers engaging with them, they're telling us that they've been able to secure 1 surety and they are working towards securing the other so that Chairman Wontumi will be able to, if you like, go home.
I see, but these supporters who are there, Crosby, what for? When he's already been granted bail, he's only now meeting the bail conditions. So why are they there today as well?
So they're not as much as they were yesterday, just a few of them today. And then they've not masked up, if you like. Some, those who use that stretch for their regular activities, they are walking by, and then they like to spend a minute or 2 to ask a few others what is going on there. Have they seen Chairman Wontumi? How is it like? Have the lawyers come around? That's the kind of conversation that is ongoing there now. But they're not masked up, so they're still very calm. A few of them will come and then solidarize. They're still hoping that the bail conditions will be met now that he has been granted bail, and then the Ashanti Regional Chairman, their Chairman Wontumi, can go home so that further investigations can continue.
I see. Have the lawyers given any indication if they are able to meet the final bail condition today?
What they're saying is that they are working at it. They are working towards it. 50 million cedis with securities is not small money, Kemini, although he may be able to afford it, but it's not small money. The documentation alone will take quite some time. So what is happening is the lawyers, they're working around the clock to make sure that Wontumi provides what is required of him so that the bail conditions will finally be met. He can go home or he can go to another health facility for him to be taken care of, because we understand that he's still unwell and he's still being kept at the health facility.
Crosby, we'll leave it here. Thank you so much for talking to us. Crosby Annan is a reporter who's been following the Wontumi case at the EOCO offices. But I want to turn attention to other issues, because we know that the Government and Hospital Pharmacists Association, GOSPA, is urgently appealing to the Ministry of Finance for immediate financial clearance to engage nearly 600 trained pharmacists house officers whose postings has been delayed. This comes as 333 current house officers complete their tenure at the end of this month, threatening a major disruption in pharmaceutical services across the country. The delay, GOSPA warns, could lead to severe consequences, including medication errors, disrupted 24-hour clinical pharmacy services, increased pharmacist burnout, and compromised patient safety, especially as the Ghana Health Service has not permanently recruited pharmacists in the past 5 years. Now, GOSPA is therefore urging the government to act immediately to avoid a collapse in pharmaceutical care, stressing that the delay in clearance endangers lives and undermines healthcare delivery. Let's have a chat on the back of this. Dr. Emmanuel Owusu-Riafe is the national chairman of the Government and Hospital Pharmacists Association. We'll talk to him on the matter at hand, because, Doc, you tell us that if you go on strike, we'll have a very dire situation in pharmaceutical care. So tell us what the engagement with the Health Ministry has been like so far.
Okay, so thank you very much for having me. In our engagement with the Ministry of Health so far, it is just verbal assurances that clearance will be given and that they are continuously engaging the Ministry of Finance. But the point which is of critical importance here is the fact that these house officers are ending their tenure by close of day Friday, which is by close of day tomorrow, and there are no replacement for them. Mind you, we have barely a little over 1,000 public sector pharmacists manning the various hospitals and clinics across the various health institutions in Ghana. And the dying effect is really going to have a toll in the provision of pharmaceutical services. And that is why we have made this very urgent call. We understand, we know, yes, there may be competition for budgetary constraints, etc., but we need to have a continuum in the provision of pharmaceutical services across the various facilities in the country. And as we rightly indicated, there is a huge gap in the pharmaceutical workforce, which we have espoused. Barring the fact that for the past 5 years, there has not been permanent recruitment into the public services. And these house officers have, they are really cushioning and then filling in the gap so as to enhance the continuous provision of quality pharmaceutical services to the generation of the generality of the people we serve.
I see. What reasons were given for why there was no recruitment in the last 5 years?
The key reason has basically been budgetary constraints, which they espouse, which, in all honesty, we do not agree. We believe as pharmaceutical service providers, We are essential service providers. And the fact is that more than 98% of patients who seek for health services will need the services of a qualified pharmacist to do so. And so urgency and premium should be attached to the recruitment of pharmacists. You know, we are working within the health sector where over the years, yes, there is clearance. We are very much aware that there are clearance even for other health officers of other cadres, you know, within the service. And we believe that same importance should be attached to clearance for the house officers so that they can join us in at least filling the gap. For the house officers, the issue is that they are given, you know, a shorter, their clearance is for a year, you know, so that they can fill in the huge gaps that we have.
Doc, when was your last engagement with the Health Ministry on this recruitment proposal you're making to them, or recruitment demand you're making on the government? And what did they tell you?
The last engagement was barely 2 weeks ago, and I'm very much aware, together working with my president for the Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana, there has even been some engagements this week. But there are no concrete, in honesty, there are no concrete, you know, directives as to when the Ministry of Finance, is giving the clearance. So as at now, we don't know if it is next week, if it is next month. We don't have a clear word, and that is why we are making that urgent appeal, and we are calling on all of you to also voice in, so that we don't end up having, you know, a crisis within the healthcare front.
We'll see how that plays out. Thank you so much for talking to us, Dr. Owusu. I will turn attention to narcotics now, because the Narcotics Control Commission, in collaboration with customs officials at the Tema Port, has intercepted a 20-footer container carrying a consignment of tramadol exceeding the legally permitted dosage of 100 milligrams. The seizure made at approximately 99, well, it revealed at approximately 99 cartons of tramadol, combination of tramadol and carisoprodol at 120 milligram strength, alongside some quantity of sisal fiber. Now, the container, which appeared ordinary for general cargo, was flagged and unstaffed, leading to the discovery of the concealed controlled substances. Oh, you may have seen our documentary, Hooked on Red, which put the spotlight on drug abuse, particularly what appears to be the latest craze among drug users. And as expected, tongues are beginning to wag, and for good reason. Godwin Asidibe's latest expose pulls back the curtain on Red 225, the dangerous opioid silently gripping Ghana's youth. As the documentary premieres, the public is jolted by sad images and raw testimonies. But amid the commentary, there's a story of the user Safia Azuma Faustina, who is hooked on Red.
Met 29-year-old Safia Azumi Faustina. Her body trembled under the influence of a drug she could barely name, and with vacant eyes, she offered herself for sex for as little as 20 Ghana cedis. We walked deep into the ghetto, far from where I found her, just so I could hear her story. Her eloquence struck me. Too sharp, too clear for someone so consumed. I wondered why.
My parents forever once never gave me to believe in second chance.
She could barely keep her balance. She had just taken a few tablets and the euphoria had taken hold.
Nothing. Because I could remember bleed sometimes, and it comes so hard. I deserve to take some pills and feel relieved. I take pills most times. I would take injections too.
A mother of a 9-year-old boy, her moments of joy are fleeting. She has endured too much, and Red has only made it worse.
My kid is 9 years. I got operated of appendix.
You?
Yes, please. Before I give birth to my child. And I guess I'm fine. Sometimes I could take some tablets to just feel so hefty to work.
Not long ago, she collapsed hard. The jagged scar on her shoulder is a reminder of the price she's paid.
Yes, my mistake.
So sorry about that.
The red opioid is taking over here. It is not just a street drug. It is becoming a way of life, eating away at the soul of a generation that has no intention of stopping. I needed to understand how this drug was circulating so freely despite a national warning to crack down on its distribution. That was how I met Hayford Kwesibosompeng, 40 years old. He has battled addiction for over 2 decades and has lived through multiple waves of Ghana's drug problem.
This is how the ending looks like for them when the skies get darker.
When they say boys in the mobile, they say reach and the police for number. First, they no see. Want them to take. And they say, Lord, look, to buy any pine yellow, so they be our number.
Because I was an unfamiliar face, the dealers would not sell to me directly. They are much aware what they're doing is illegal. Hayford made the purchase for me. A tablet cost 10 Ghana cedis.
Whilst the Ministry for Youth Development and Empowerment is trying so hard to get the red drug substance off the market, there are still people in here who are selling them. And I just got one, which I am about to open so that we see how it is. And this is exactly how it looks. Absolutely. And this is happening in here right at Circle, where a lot of people are selling this substance to mostly the youth.
Red 225, a 225 milligram dose of tramadol, was never meant to be taken this way. But on these streets, it's king. Those who abuse it go to great lengths to secure their next dose, no matter the cost of their bodies or their lives.
Oh, Godwin has said about with that documentary. More of it on our socials. If you go to our YouTube page, you'll find it there. But listen, some of you have been responding to this rather heartbreaking stories we have heard from everyday people like you and me who unfortunately are hooked on this substance called Red. And over here we see from JT Azam, who says this problem needs to be studied and remedied quickly before we lose hold of it. We need majority of our youth population to be productive. There's too much access to illicit substances. There's just too much access to illicit substances, unregulated media content on same, hence exposing people to it. There's another one also from Nimanche who's asking God to intervene. McLean and Ayabwa says, what's D12? Some of the drug addicts are mentioning it. Perhaps that's something we'll look into as well. But let's have a quick chat on the back of that. Dr. Richmond Edusapoku is executive member of the Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana. He's also executive member of the Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana. Doc, good afternoon. Thank you so much for your time here. But how does this documentary come to the Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana And what will be your recommendations on how to address it?
Yeah, so I'm very grateful for the opportunity to you, and good afternoon to your listeners. The Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana has been at the forefront of this opioid crisis that we experience. For years now, tramadol has been the main culprit. And our role has largely been one of education. First of all, we did a lot of education among our members to sensitize our members. And then now the society, through its practice groups, have been reaching out to the public and educating, especially the youth and the students in particular, of the harmful effects of taking opioids as recreational drugs. So that's something that we've really been doing. Again, through our press releases, we encourage intergovernmental agencies about the idea of thinking together and not to work in silos. And what we've seen so far is commendable. We've seen NARCOC really at work, make a lot of seizures of narcotics across the country, and we commend them for their effort. We've seen FDA also actively now involved at the various ports, Tema Port and then Kotoka International Airport. FDA too is also doing a very good job, and I think this is very commendable.
Very well, but Doc, much more than clearing the drugs from the market, as you very well know, you have a hold on one. Users will definitely find an alternative. How can we help people who suffer from this disease?
Well, there are twofold front attacks that we can have. First of all, it's to do with education. People who are yet to be using these opioids, one, we have to educate them so that they don't even get into addiction as far as these conditions are concerned, because coming out is very, very tough. So that's one part. The second part is already for those who are using these opioids and are actually addicted. And that's where the various NGOs that support addiction clinics in this country really come in, and REMA and other groups like that offer opportunity for addicts to be engaged so that they don't go back into these habits again after therapy has been given to them. The Mental Health Authority is also one authority that engages a lot of addiction clinics. The only challenge is that treating addiction is quite expensive, and we need governmental support to be able to push the Mental Health Authority to be able to link up with the various addiction clinics. So some of them are private, some of them are public. But even for the public ones like Pantan, it still costs a lot of money to be able to take people out of this addiction and bring them to normality. So these are the two front attacks: psychotherapy, clinical therapy for those already in it, and then for those who have been weaned off, they've been engaged to do better jobs and to be engaged so that they don't slip back. But again, for us as Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana, our role is rather of education. Prevention, as they say, is always better than cure.
But Doc, this is a public health emergency, and it's a public sector responsibility. And there are a lot of these young people out there suffering from this disease of addiction to opioid. Are there enough resources? Is there enough will to be able to go out there and help them?
Yes, I think that our Honorable Minister for Health, Honorable Akando, stated, and he's been very proactive in this sense. Of course, it means that some budgetary concerns will have to be taken care of. It's been presented to Parliament. He voiced out that government must come in to support the budgetary allocation as far as fighting opioids is concerned. And we also see that the President is quite involved in this perspective, having assembled the Minister of Health, the FDA head, the President of the Society, and NACOC reps. They all came to the Jubilee House and had a lot of discussions on this. So funds are being allocated for these purposes, and I think that in due time we will see progress as far as this fight is concerned. Yes.
Doc, we'll leave it here. Thank you so much for talking to us. Dr. Richmond Edusapoku is an executive member of the Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana. He'll take us on our very first break, but when we come back, we'll bring you the story of how dozens of passengers are commuting from Salaga to Tamale Thursday morning, having been stranded because drivers refuse to comply to the 15% reduction. Don't go away. welcome back. It's still News Central here on TV3. We'll now get into major stories from across the region. Now, dozens of passengers commuting from Salaga to Tamale Thursday morning have been stranded as drivers have refused to comply with the 15% reduction in fares. The drivers earlier reduced the fares by only 10% instead of the 15% reduction as announced by GPRTU. But on Wednesday, May 28th, the MCE for East Gonja, Yazid Kasim, and the Municipal Security Committee mounted pressure on them to further reduce the prices to 15% or risk closing the station. The drivers therefore decided not to work today, saying they cannot reduce transport fees by 10%. Christopher Mwako is our correspondent following the story. Chris, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. But what's the situation now?
Yeah, so Kemini, the drivers are still bent on not moving until the passengers pay the 45 Ghana that it reduced to. But the station managers have been able to organize some bench buses for those who indicated that they were going for health review and interviews to be able to go and catch up with whatever they have to do in Tamale. But as we speak, the drivers are still bent on the fact that they are not going to move until the passengers pay the 45 Ghana cedis. They cannot reduce beyond the 10% that they have reduced. Let's take a listen to what the drivers and the station master have been telling me earlier.
I was here with my old lady since 5:15 a.m. We're going to Tamale for medical review. And since we came, there is a disagreement between the drivers and the station management about the price reduction. The drivers are unwilling to abide with the 15% decrease in prices, and the station people too are saying that is the directive from the GPRTU and the must abide by it. To the station around 5 a.m. To board the car to Tamale for a workshop. But then as at 7 a.m. I'm still at the station because the drivers are refusing to take the new directive from the GPRTU.
Initially, when the fuel was rising, the prices was also increased. And our side, we learned the fuel was supposed to be 62 cedis. That's what they told us. According to GPRTU, the fare, it was supposed to be 62 cedis. So they came and told us that there are people who don't have money, so they complain a lot. So we, the drivers, also help them with 50 cedis. So we agree with the 50 cedis. And when the fuel reduce again, instead of them to also consider us with the 50 cedis, they reduce it to 45 cedis. We are complaining with the 45 cedi, and today they came out and said they are going to reduce it again. And when they reduce the fuel, the spare parts, they didn't reduce it. Oil, they didn't reduce it. And when you are to go for maintenance, the maintenance side, they didn't reduce it. So we are also saying we will not go today. If not, they should maintain the 45 Ghana cedis. We can't work with any less than 45 cedis amount.
Passengers are stranded, seated here. Even some say they even pay 50. Some are going for review. Some are going for interview. Some are going for hair counts. All of them have took here. So now we don't know the means and ways we can help them. The ways, if you know you have a car, a private car in your house, you can take it and go. Or you have a motorbike, you can go. You go. I'm for the station. I'm not for the drivers. They are deciding it's the car, and they say they won't go. I have nothing to tell them. So our chairman have moved to meet the MC and the BNI, because they are saying if you take what is more than 43 Ghana cedi, they will close the station. So
now, Christopher, we've heard from both drivers and passengers alike, but quickly tell us what other alternatives are there for the passengers, and how does this stalemate impact economic activity in the area?
Yes, so for now, they will have to rely on the Metro Mass Transit that comes to Salaga. But as we speak, there is a meeting ongoing between the drivers, the station managers, and the GPRTU executives in the East Gonja municipality, so that they will be able to address the issue. Now, the major concern here is that 2 years ago, they were supposed to increase to 62 Ghana cedis according to GPRTU, but they decided to peg it at 50 Ghana cedis because the passengers were complaining and begging them. And so once this reduction has come, they cannot reduce again by the 15%. They can only do 10%. So that is the bone of contention now, and that is what they are supposed to go and address. Once this is addressed, they will be able to move. So by close of day, probably they will be able to reach an agreement for them to commence their movement from Salaga to Tamale again. But the other issue is that from Tamale coming to Salaga, the fare is 45 Ghana cedis. The 10% reduction is what is working. But here, the Municipal Security Committee wants a 15% reduction. That is where the challenge is.
Very well, Chris. We'll leave it here. Thank you so much for talking to us. Christopher Mwako is our Northern Region correspondent. Now, let's turn attention elsewhere because the Doma West District Hospital, serving over 100 communities, is facing critical challenges in newborn and maternal care due to a lack of essential equipment. The facility lacks phototherapy machines, incubators, radiant warmers, and other vital tools needed to support newborn health. Claude Kumi Ebisa sent in this report.
The Doma West District Hospital, a crucial health facility serving 119 communities in the Doma West District, lacks basic life-saving equipment to effectively run the neonatal intensive care unit and maternity ward, making it difficult to provide standard care for newborns and mothers. The hospital has no phototherapy machine for treating jaundice, no incubator for preterm babies, and no radiant warmer to stabilize newborns. These gaps force health workers to improvise, often with dire consequences.
We do not have a phototherapy machine. We have no incubator. We have no radiant warmer, among others, to support newborn care. It is interesting to note that most of our referrals are newborn and obstetric complications, which we could have handled at our end, but we are handicapped due to limited resources.
Midwife at the neonatal intensive care unit, Sarah Andani Esima, explains how they improvise to prevent tragic outcomes.
We don't have most of the equipment, but we are trying our best to manage the babies here. So it depends on the gestational age. For instance, we don't have incubator, but gestational age 32 and above, we have an improvised warmer, which we manage them here. And then we manage from day 1 to 28 days here. Initially, we didn't have the NUCU at Doma West District Hospital. We used to refer most of our cases to nearby facilities like Doma Presby Hospital and Brekum. So management saw the need for an established NUCU. That led to this NUCU units that we have here. Upon all the challenges, we are doing our best to manage those that we can.
The 2 maternity wards in the facility are so congested with lactating mothers accommodated on the floor. Referrals are another challenge due to the terrible state of the Doma Nkrankwanta Road. The medical superintendent bemoans the poor road network delays emergency responses.
Our next biggest facility we have is the Doma Presby Hospital. And indeed, the road network from Doma to Nkrankwanta is not motorable. And therefore, in times of referrals, there is a lot of hindrances. Cases that should have reached Doma in less than 30 minutes spends close to 1.5 hours. And this mostly affects the outcome of care negatively at the receiving facility.
Therefore, management is appealing to the government and stakeholders to urgently equip the hospital to meet district-level standards and also fixing Doma Nkrankwanta Road to facilitate smooth referrals. Health workers at the hospital are doing their best with limited resources, but without immediate intervention, preventable tragedies would continue. Claude Kumi Ebisa, TV3 News, Nkrankwanta.
President John Dramani Mahama has begun his thank you visit to 3 regions. He will address a Durbar of chiefs and people of the Bono East region today as he begins this 3-region tour to thank Ghanaians for their massive votes in the December 2024 elections. Komla Kluche filed this report.
Okay, so John Mahama is continuing his thank you tour. The focus this time around is in the Bono East, the Ahafo region, and also the Bono region between today, Thursday, and Saturday. That's what John Mahama will be engaging in. His crisscross around parts of the country already, and he's been reminding people of the promises he made to them. And even upon his assumption to office, he's been trying to tell them what exactly he intends to do for the various regions that he goes to say thank you to them. One person who has become quite key in the region and who is also the member of parliament for the Kintampo North constituency and also a member of the Education Committee of Parliament, the Honorable Joseph Kuma. 5 months into the administration of John Mahama, what is there to be proud of, one as a member of the ruling party?
So good, so far, so perfect, so admirable. Why am I saying so? My people were buying fertilizer. This is a farming community. Kintampo is full of arable lands, moving from mango plantation, cashew, yam, cereals, and everything. And so, my people are joyful because the chemicals they use in spraying their farms are reducing very fast. Now they are getting chemical weedicide for about 40 cedis, which a total was around 60 cedis per one. They are getting fertilizers at 420 Ghana cedis instead of 650 as it went before. Just 5 months into the system, they are getting reduction in prices of general goods, call it soap, omo, and so on and so forth. And so they are beginning to be joyful. Transfer fares are affecting them also, the 25% reduction in transport fares. Kintampo is inclusive, and a lot of them buy this thing from Accra, Techima, the big market cities, Greater Kumasi, and so on and so forth. And so, truth be told, that there's joy in the morning. And when there's joy in the morning, it will transcend into the afternoon.
When it comes to agriculture, what is one thing that you're expecting? Because I know Kintampo is also a center when it comes to agriculture. What's one thing that you are expecting?
One of the things I expect is the feeder roads to the various crop centers. Feeder roads must be given Kintampo apart from the township roads. Then the last thing is about water. Water is life. We lack water too in the system, portable drinking water. From Babato to Benkura, about 45 kilometers stretch, we don't have reliable water. We have shallow boreholes. By January, February, they are off. This year I had to supply a lot of water with tankers, water tankers, which is not the best for a municipality of almost 150,000 numbers. And farmers, a place that feed the nation with yam throughout the year. And so we need that. So feeder rows are needed. Continuous fall in prices of chemicals and farm inputs are needed. The supply of the tractors, His Excellency promised for Farmer Service Center is also needed, among other things. And so if these things are given to the center of the nation, I'm sure it will it will spread and to feed the rest of the regions. And when we get surplus, we will get exports to add. If gold prices, government has been able to take this massive step into that, and then the agri sector picks up with the Feed Ghana concept and all that we have, I'm sure at the end of the day, Asantis will say Ghana Baye Krabeshe.
Thanks, Joseph Kuma. He is the Member of Parliament for the Kintampo North constituency and also a member of the Education Committee of Parliament. As you can see just behind me, people are beginning to trooping into the Kintampo Nursing and Midwifery College, which is hosting the thank you tour for the Bono East region. And the president is expected to speak at 2 p.m. And we would be expecting for him to possibly revisit some of the promises that he made to the people. But one thing remains for sure, that the development of the regions remains a very key thing and a key want of the people of the Bono East region. Komla Kluche, TV3 News, Kentampo.
Now, away from the regions, Ghana's embassy in Washington, D.C. will officially reopen today, May 29th, following a temporary closure due to an IT breach and corruption allegations. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs confirmed the resumption of full consular services, with strengthened integrity measures and a newly formed diplomatic team in place. The shutdown came after a locally hired IT staffer was found to have embedded an unauthorized link on the embassy's website, redirecting visa and passport applicants to a private company, charging them illegal fees. The scheme allegedly went undetected for 5 years. All home-based staff were recalled and local staff suspended pending investigations. An IT team has since reconfigured the embassy's website and payment systems, removing all unauthorized links. A new diplomatic team led by a senior ministry official has been deployed to oversee reforms and restore public trust. Now, the Auditor General and Attorney General are now investigating the scandal. You're still here on TV3. This is News Central. I'm Kemini Amanor. There's more news ahead. Don't go away. Now, the city's appreciation has brought relief and renewed confidence. However, not every party is elated by this development, especially exporters. A cost-benefit analysis by the research desk here at TV3 reveals that the city's appreciation has increased Ghana's export prices by over 38%. We'll walk you through the numbers shortly. But first, let's hear from the president on the measures being put in place to ensure the cedi is pegged at a competitive rate so that both importers and exporters benefit.
Cedi recently has appreciated in value, and it is the result of close coordination between the fiscal and monetary, between the central bank and the Ministry of Finance. And so it's not like somebody is deliberately forcing the dollar down. It is the result of the bids that is finding what the true value of the cedi is. And I believe that it will arrest where the true value is based on the issues of demand and supply. And so I don't envisage that some people say it will come to one cedi, $1. No, that's extreme. We'll virtually collapse our export sector if that happened. But I think that the governor of the bank has an eye on it. And if it goes below a certain floor, I'm sure that the Bank of Ghana will make an intervention to make sure that it remains within a certain band that gives the true value of the cedi against the other foreign currencies. So don't panic, and if you haven't changed your dollars already, I don't know how much further lower it will go, but the governor has an eye on it.
We have an eye on it as well. Let's let the numbers speak, because as you well know, in 2023, exports were about 186 billion cedis. Now, the total exports, if we are pegging, the dollar at the time at 11.07, the cedi as against dollar at 11.07, then we'll be equating it to 16.8 billion US dollars. We compare that with 2024, when total exports were about 294.9 billion cedis. Let's do the conversion for that as well, pegging it at 14.31 cedis to a dollar. Then the value will be $20.6 billion. Obviously, you can see that there's a difference there, but let's do the math for you. We'll make it easy. There's an increase in that. We see a 108.9 billion cedi increase in the difference between the 2023 and 2024 exports, which means that our exports are becoming more expensive, so to speak. Now, let's look at the depreciation gain, right? At 29.2%, the cedi's dropped from 11.07 to 14.31 for a dollar, boosted export revenues by 29.2% in local currency terms, even with unchanged volumes. And then we have a bit more about its appreciation cost. And here's what we're going to see. This is what the president was referring to, right? But that at a cost of 10.29 cedi to the US dollar, same exports cost foreign buyers 38.9% more in dollars, threatening competitiveness. Now, let me explain this a little further so that you understand. Now, we are finding it easier to buy the dollar, right? But if this goes out there for foreign buyers, for those who will be buying our produce, they'll have to spend 38.9% more. So imagine you're paying $100 for something and you're having to spend 38.9% more, which is the competitiveness the president speaks about and says, look, the finance ministry will look into pegging this as a very competitive rate so that our exports are not too expensive and we don't make it also too easy to have imports into the country. Now, well, now, that'll be all. That'll be all we have time for, but I hope it made sense to you. That's it for By the Numbers. Well, quickly, we're just hearing that renowned Kenyan author Ngugi wa Thiong'o has died at the age of 87. Wa Thiong'o was a titan of modern African literature, a storyteller who refused to be bound by jail, exile, and illness. Well, our condolences to the family and to the thespian world in Kenya and across the globe. That'll be all this hour for News Central. Thank you so much for your company. I am Kemini Amana. I will see you a little later tonight. Bye-bye.